There are moments in culture that seem innocent at first glance, harmless greetings, routine celebrations, simple gestures meant to unify. But within hip-hop, where context is everything and the subtext often speaks louder than the surface, even the most benign messages can become battlegrounds. Father's Day 2025 was one of those moments. What began as a typical tribute to fatherhood took on a deeper, more piercing resonance when Kendrick Lamar, fresh off a dominant run through Canada's biggest city, posted a message that read, "Happy Father's Day to all the amazing dads out there. To those missing their fathers today, or growing up without one, sending love your way as well. Welcome to celebrity rap life, where the red carpets never roll up and the spotlight never fades. The rewards are legendary. Because in celebrity rap life, every downfall can become a comeback, and every headline tells a deeper story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next." It was thoughtful, inclusive, seemingly neutral. But this wasn't just Kendrick the family man talking. It was Kendrick the strategist, the poet, the warrior, the same man who turned Drake's home into a battlefield just days earlier. And suddenly, fans started reading between the lines. Because when one of the greatest lyricists of his generation, who just disemboweled the biggest Canadian rapper in history on his own turf, sends out a message on Father's Day, one that highlights growing up without a father, the cultural antenna goes up. There's a long, painful irony embedded in the feud between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. At the heart of many of their lyrical blows lies a deeper commentary on authenticity, legacy, and responsibility. Kendrick has long painted himself as a protector of the culture, a man committed to honesty and truth, regardless of how uncomfortable it may be. Drake, on the other hand, has built a fortress of emotional accessibility and melodic charisma, one that has often blurred the lines between vulnerability and performance. But when it comes to fatherhood, the tension takes on a darker tone. Years ago, Pusha T's infamous "The Story of Adonis" revealed to the world that Drake had a son he had not yet publicly acknowledged. That son, Adonis, became a footnote in a broader battle over credibility. The revelation damaged Drake's image, at least temporarily, calling into question the very persona he had so carefully curated. Kendrick, who stayed silent during that chapter, now seems to be circling back. And after his grand national tour stormed through Toronto, delivering a barrage of subliminal and overt shots at Drake, from "Not Like Us" rattling through Rogers Centre to references layered in his set design, it seems this Father's Day message might be more than a Hallmark reading. The phrase "growing up without one" hit particularly hard for fans already tuned into the deeper meaning of Kendrick's bars. To them, this wasn't just Kendrick expressing empathy, it was a pointed reminder of the very accusation that once haunted Drake, being absent. The wound that Pusha T ripped open years ago had been left to scab over. But Kendrick, he doesn't scratch wounds. He rips stitches out. Context matters. Kendrick's grand national tour wasn't just another musical event. It was a declaration of dominance. At every stop, from Los Angeles to Atlanta, from Vegas to Detroit, Kendrick positioned himself as more than just an artist. He was a force reshaping the landscape. By the time he reached Toronto, the symbolism was impossible to ignore. He was entering enemy territory, and rather than shy away from it, he leaned in harder than ever. On stage in Toronto, "Not Like Us" didn't just play, it echoed. It roared. It pulsed through the veins of a crowd that knew exactly what it meant. The same city that raised Drake was now swaying to a song designed to dismantle him. It wasn't just a concert, it was a conquest. And now, days later, Kendrick sends out a message that resonates with everyone on the surface, but slices deeply for those who know the backstory. To those missing their fathers today, or growing up without one. The timing is surgical. This is the same Kendrick who's mastered the art of emotional warfare, whose pen can disarm, demolish, or uplift depending on the angle. This is the same Kendrick who, during the Super Bowl halftime show, turned a 15-minute performance into a referendum on power, truth, and betrayal. He doesn't post lightly. He doesn't forget. And neither does the culture. Social media lit up. Fans dissected the post, connecting the dots with an intensity that bordered on obsession. Memes flew. Comment sections exploded. The phrase "real father" began trending alongside Adonis's name. People weren't just speculating, they were interpreting, analyzing, decoding. In hip-hop, especially in beef, silence is a canvas. A caption is a verse. And Kendrick had just painted one in broad strokes. What makes this moment even more poignant is that Kendrick himself is a father. A proud one. He's kept his family largely out of the spotlight, but when he speaks about fatherhood, it's with reverence. He views it not just as a role, but as a responsibility. That distinction matters. Because when a man who honors fatherhood publicly comments on the absence of it, it's not just a passive observation, it's an indictment. The dichotomy couldn't be clearer. On one hand, Kendrick has positioned himself as a present, grounded patriarch, someone who leads by example and treats fatherhood as sacred. On the other hand, he's subtly alluding to a peer whose history with fatherhood has been complicated. It's not about Adonis himself. It never has been. It's about the symbol he represents. In this ongoing clash between two titans of hip-hop, Adonis is the ghost in the machine, a child caught between mythologies. Drake's response? As of now, there hasn't been one. No post. No tweet. No subliminal. But silence, too, is a move. Especially in an era where every action is time-stamped and every inaction scrutinized. Maybe Drake is waiting for the right moment. Maybe he's choosing restraint. Or maybe, just maybe, Kendrick's presence in his city, his dominance on a weekend that should have been a celebration of Toronto's musical crown prince, was a blow too precise to counter immediately. What makes this narrative so rich is that it's unfolding in real time, layered with history. Kendrick and Drake aren't just artists, they're archetypes. They represent opposing energies within the genre. Where Kendrick is introspective, Drake is performative. Where Kendrick cuts with truth, Drake caresses with vibe. They are yin and yang, and the tension between them isn't just lyrical, it's philosophical. And so a simple Father's Day post becomes a new battlefield. Not because Kendrick said anything overtly hostile. He didn't need to. The power of his words lies in the restraint, the ambiguity, the ability to make people feel seen while making others feel exposed. That's a gift. And a weapon. As Kendrick's grand national tour continues, fans are now watching his every move with heightened intensity. Will he address the post directly in a future show? Will a new track surface that expands on the themes he hinted at? Or was this it, a one-sentence message that did more damage than a diss track ever could? Meanwhile, the spotlight remains on Drake, who must now navigate not just public perception, but personal implication. Because when your opponent uses the very concept of fatherhood to challenge your character, it's no longer just about bars. It's about legacy. And legacy is where Kendrick thrives. His entire career has been built on the notion that the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, must be confronted. From You to Fear to Mother I Sober, he's never shied away from exposing the undercurrents that shape who we are. So when he speaks about fathers, absence, presence, and the weight of lineage, it's coming from a place of lived understanding. For Drake, the challenge now is not just to respond, it's to evolve. To address not just the accusations, but the implications. Because the longer this feud simmers, the more it becomes about something deeper than rap. It becomes about manhood, accountability, and the stories we tell about who we are. And Kendrick knows that. He's not just playing the game, he's redefining it. Every message, every lyric, every stage design is part of a larger strategy. And this Father's Day message, subtle though it was, fits perfectly into that framework. It was a move made with surgical precision, designed to hit where it hurts the most, under the surface. So while most of the world scrolled past the post, liking it and moving on, those paying attention understood the depth of it. In just a few words, Kendrick Lamar reminded his audience, and his rival, that the war isn't over. That every holiday, every performance, every silence, is another opportunity to draw blood. And that in the chessboard of hip-hop, even a happy Father's Day can be checkmate. Kendrick didn't need to say Drake's name. He never has. The message was clear. And in doing so, he transformed a warm sentiment into a cultural landmine. Fatherhood, legacy, truth. These aren't just themes in his music. They're the very tools he uses to dismantle his opponents. And on this Father's Day, in the wake of a triumphant Toronto takeover, Kendrick Lamar did what he does best. He spoke softly and carried a very sharp pen. This story is far from over, and the truth is still unfolding. I want to hear what you think. Drop your take in the comments. And if you don't want to miss the next twist, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next.